Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. I felt so called to do today's video because it's all about transforming, evolving, and growing into the best version of yourself. As a woman who is constantly in a state of self-improvement, I think a discussion that is very slept on is anything that has to do with removing qualities about ourselves. We are always in a state of bettering ourselves, evolving, transforming, and changing, which I think is beautiful, and I love being able to improve in some way. But there are definitely habits, traits, and qualities that we possess when we're young or when we're naive that we don't want to carry into the next stage of our lives. I find that I have to really look inward and figure out what toxic habits have I been implementing that have stunted my growth in some way, that have either affected my relationships, affected my success, affected how I view myself. So today we are going to be discussing 10 toxic habits that I had to break in order to become that woman. And it really overall improves your lifestyle, your success, the way you look, the way you interact with people, how you connect. It's just a beautiful way to really just become who you want to be. So we're going to discuss the 10 toxic habits I had to break. And these are pretty easy to work on if you actually pay attention to what you're doing and you start to actually create new habits in its place. So let's just get into it. I have a lot to mention today. I'm so excited to be talking about today's sponsor, which is Funjamins, and more specifically, we're gonna be talking about their Super Chill supplement. So I'm excited to share with you guys a little bit more wellness here on this channel and why I absolutely love this company. If I'm being real, balancing everything, work, life, going to the gym, my dogs, it can just be a lot at times. And sometimes my sleep schedule can be a little off. I'll be up late editing, brainstorming, or just doing certain things to wind down. And sometimes I can just be all over the place. That's why I've been so obsessed with the Super Chill supplements from Funjamins. These have been a lifesaver for me when I'm feeling like a little bit of a restless evening. These have been a part of my evening routine and has allowed me to wind down in a peaceful way and to really engage in the best, most productive night routine possible so that I can have the best next day. So not only does my sleep schedule really affect how I feel that evening, but it also affects how I feel the next day, which I don't want to feel lethargic, tired, or like I didn't get a good night's rest. So this particular supplement is packed with so many different things like reishi mushrooms, L-theanine, and ashwagandha. So it's all natural, it's packed with all of the things that are going to make you feel your absolute best, and it is backed by science, which I think is so crucial and important. So I actually wake up feeling refreshed and not groggy. So not only does this help me with my sleep, but it helps me wake up energized and excited to start the next day. And it also has the ingredient passion flower, which is going to help calm your mind. If you're someone who struggles with shutting your brain off at night and you tend to just be all over the place, or you just have a high stress level or a bad sleep schedule, this particular supplement from Funjamins will definitely be for you. You guys are going to absolutely love it. And you're gonna feel more productive, energized, and ready to take on life the next day. So I definitely would recommend giving these a try if you want to have the most productive and intentional evening possible. It's allowed me to feel more balanced, and that's something that I'm always chasing. So I will leave the link for everything that you guys need for Funjamins down below in the description box and on the screen, but I use all of their products. They're so amazing. So I think that you're gonna love them, and definitely one of them is gonna resonate with you. So thank you so much, Funjamins, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into the rest of today's topic. Okay, the very first toxic habit that I had to break in order to actually improve and become that woman is I had to stop ignoring my health and wellness journey. I have discussed this so many times on this channel. If you've been following me for some time, then you know that I have had a weight loss journey, I have had a glow up, and I'm constantly becoming the best version of me. Something I wish I could have told my younger self is to start early. Not that I feel like I started too late, but I was just not super self-aware. And if I were to speak to like my future daughters or even just my sister about how you can really improve yourself, it's to really hone in on your health, your wellness, your looks, and elevate those things so that you can feel your best and look your best and present in a way that you're proud of. I had to stop viewing things like overconsumption of alcohol and eating incorrectly for my body and ignoring certain signs as normal. Those things were just keeping me stunted. I would always find a way to, say I'm young, I'm enjoying myself, it's not a big deal, and I would just poo-poo everything. But what it eventually did is it created not only body image issues, but it also affected my actual health and well-being. I wasn't performing at my best. I wasn't able to do certain things. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to live my best life and look good while doing it. So starting early and actually implementing healthy habits will actually discipline you in other areas of your life. How you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're someone who's disciplined in certain areas, it more than likely will actually trickle into other areas of your life. If you're someone who's working out consistently, then you can actually apply the same discipline into your work-life balance, into your friendships, into your relationships, and it overall just kind of marries into everything. Okay, the second toxic habit that I had to break in order to become that woman was obsessing over instant gratification and lacking accountability. This is huge. When you are trying to step into the best version of you, you have to be accountable for how you show up in the world. You have to understand that every decision and choice that you make is going to affect your lives. This also goes for how you perform in all of the tasks and goals that you set out for yourself. Are you someone who is only excited and happy when you get something instantly? And how long are you able to sustain that? That is something that is huge. I used to be very obsessed with buying things that would make me feel something in a moment, or doing something that would make me feel something that, was out of this world for like 10 minutes. And what that eventually did was it actually made me quite sad. It made me feel unfulfilled, and I wasn't actually performing at my best. I wasn't doing the long game with my life. I no longer romanticize having and getting things quickly. I much rather play the long game. I much rather gain the tools and the habits and educate myself prior to getting that thing, because that allows me to maintain it, to love it, to nurture it, and to live by it every day. My biggest tip to my younger self, and it's also to you guys as well listening, is to be patient, to work hard, to be resilient, and to actually have accountability in your decisions, your tasks, and the things that you do with your day-to-day life. This is going to allow you to cultivate a routine that you can actually maintain a beautiful life long-term. Okay, the third toxic habit that I completely broke in order to become that woman is negative self-talk. I tend to get very difficult on myself, and it's very natural for us, especially perfectionistic people, to constantly be criticizing yourself and resetting the bar every time you either achieve something or you fail at something. I have found that negative self-talk does not improve my life at all. It actually just makes me wildly insecure, uncomfortable in my skin, and I have severe imposter syndrome when I'm in spaces that I feel like the people are either better than me, more successful than me, and smarter than me. You need to have an audacious attitude to become that woman. You need to be able to lead with confidence, integrity, grit, and just like an unwavering knowing that you are going to be able to win. I have found that when I speak highly, not only about myself, but about others, it comes back to me tenfold. I find that the world around me becomes more beautiful. I have a lot more wins, and I look at things differently. When I do make a mistake, I take accountability, but I don't overly beat myself up about it anymore. It's just not something that I find to be conducive for my growth. Start saying beautiful words about yourself. Stop saying things like, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm incapable, I can't do this, I am lazy, I wish I... Stop using those types of words. What you say really does matter, and it energetically puts something out into the universe that prevents you from getting what it is that you want. Speak positivity, abundance, and love over your life, and you will see such a difference. Now that leads me into my fourth toxic trait that I needed to break in order to become that woman. And it was to stop being so judgmental, stop gossiping, and stop engaging in low vibrational conversations with low vibrational people. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys. There were times in my life where I would thrive in environments where we would talk shit, have very low vibrational conversations about men, about other women, about different things. I got nothing out of it. Listen, I thought I got some comedic relief out of it because at the end of the day, yes, sometimes you can say something a little tongue in cheek and it can be funny. But what I have found is connecting on more deeper personal levels with women, men, and just people overall has actually allowed me to become that woman. I actually find that when you gossip and you're very judgy, you also have an insecure quality within. You start to judge those very things that you possess because at the end of the day, you're not perfect. If you don't overly judge people or overly criticize people, then you have a little bit more grace that you give to yourself. You're able to see your faults from a perspective of, it was a lesson, I learned something, I don't view this as a bad thing, I'm a human. Those who engage in online bullying, gossip, low vibrational conversations and activities, self-hatred conversations, invalidating other people's lives, all of these things that people engage in, I do not find that those people are ever successful, they're never confident, and they don't look good. You can be the most beautiful woman in the world, but if you engage in these conversations frequently, you are ugly to me. You have to really check yourself and say, what am I gaining out of this? When I find myself going on a tangent, let's just say I'm ranting to a friend about something that happened to me, and I'm going on a tangent and it's starting to turn negative and gossipy, I check myself. I go, you're allowed to be upset, but you don't need to engage in a low vibrational, low down, dirty way of speaking about things. Because again, you're putting out something in the universe that is going to come back to you with the same thing that you dislike. You are putting out what you're gonna get back. So I choose to have a little bit more of a tight-lipped situation. Also, being someone who is a gossip can affect your connections, it can affect your money, it can affect how doors are open for you, because nobody wants to be around someone who is untrustworthy, who speaks ill of others, and is just someone who is problematic. Being someone who is even keel, emotionally resilient, respectful, and ladylike is always going to make you a little bit more desirable than the latter. Okay, the fifth toxic trait that I broke that allowed me to really step into myself as a woman. I stopped waiting to feel good to do necessary things in my life. Essentially, I just gained better discipline. I found that I would always wait for a specific feeling or emotion to do things that I needed to do. And what this did was it just set me back. You are constantly being set back as a woman because you're waiting to feel great, to feel happy, to feel pretty, to feel skinny, to feel educated enough, and it's constantly putting you in a place where you're behind mentally. Not saying that you're ever truly behind in life, but you feel behind. You are mentally exhausted from your procrastination. You find that you can't achieve anything. You're not able to complete a task. You have really bad habits around discipline, working, and just kind of persevering in life. And what I found to be something that I had to get rid of was all of that. I needed to be someone who did just because I had to. And yeah, there is a level of hard work and determination that you need to get through life. And if you don't have it, then you're never gonna have it. You're never gonna be that woman. And that was the harsh reality of life for me, was realizing that there will be people who are less qualified for a role that you could fulfill, but they actually had the work ethic to get it, so they're gonna get it before you do. There are so many opportunities that you can miss out on in life by procrastinating, by not actually implementing disciplinary steps in your life. So be the person who not only has the work ethic, but has the gift. I want to be someone who isn't just gifted, but is gifted, talented, and works hard for my gifts and my talents. A lot of people are gifted and talented and it goes wasted. Don't be that person. Okay, the next toxic trait was I needed to get rid of the idea that me chasing people or changing people was ever going to lead me down a road that was helpful for my life. You will spend so much of your life chasing a feeling, chasing a person, and trying to change them, thinking that you can. And you have to stop. That will constantly keep you busy doing nothing. You are so busy doing nothing when you're doing stuff like that. You need to chase yourself and your dreams way more than you need to be chasing and wondering about other people. You can't change people. They have to want to do it themselves. And you can't chase people either, especially as a woman. It is so crucial that when you are becoming that woman, that you understand your position, your power, and your essence. When you understand those things, you don't get butthurt when people don't see it. That is their loss and it has nothing to do with you. You have to stand in your power and say, if you don't want to be here, there's the door. there is the door. And I know that for many years, I had such an issue with that. When I was getting a lot of hot and colds from people, they would love me one day, hate me the next, and then they would be here and then they wouldn't. I would constantly be chasing that positive feeling in that person again. And it was so much time wasted. I spent so much time doing something that was gonna result in the same ending regardless. And I really love that saying of like, you can be on the train and get off at stop 1 or stop 40. No matter what, you can still get off, but getting off earlier will always be better. I knew subconsciously that this was going to end regardless, yet I kept chasing it because I wanted to feel like I could fix it, that I could make it better. Not even realizing that, hey, it's gonna result in the same ending, but the hurt is gonna be stronger. I rather just worry about myself, chase my passions, chase my dreams, and let people come into my life as they want, and me kind of evaluate whether or not that's a good fit for me, and that's that. Aligning with positivity, love, and reciprocity. The next toxic habit that I had to get rid of in order to become that woman was the inability to step into my feminine power. This was something that I was constantly grappling with, especially in my early 20s. I found that my masculine qualities were always superseding things in a negative way. I believe that we as women should be feminine and masculine, especially women who are hyper independent, who like to do things for themselves and don't like to rely on a man or even just a person in general to give them the life that they deserve. I think that being someone who can do it on your own will always be the best option for yourself. But that doesn't mean that you completely get rid of your feminine essence and power. Me not authentically tapping into those things really affected my life. So what I ended up doing in return was I just flipped it. A lot of what you're doing is things like forcing, begging, convincing. These are all things that you're doing. I'm in a place now, especially now that I have really tapped into my feminine essence and power. I no longer chase. I no longer beg. I no longer convince or force. I allow things to be and I trust the process. That's not to say that I don't work for things, that I don't go after things, but I don't try to be in a place where I'm constantly convincing people of my worth, of my value, and of where I should be positioned in their life. If they don't see it, they don't see it. And this goes for anyone and everyone. This can go for a work colleague. This can go for your boss. This can go for your romantic partner, your friend, your family. Being in your feminine power is just trusting and believing that you are it. I found that my blind confidence was getting in the way of me being authentically confident. My authentic confidence is so different. It's a little bit more self-assured. It's validating. It's comfortable. My fake confidence, the one that I presented prior, was very masculine. It had a forceful approach. It did not like things it couldn't control. I realize now that there are certain things that I absolutely can control, and there's a lot of things I can't. The things that I can't, I let go of, and the things that I can, I focus on. And that's that. Okay, the 8th toxic trait that I completely broke that allowed me to become that woman was I stopped taking advice from people who I know would guide me incorrectly. This is really huge. A lot of you guys are super behind because you're constantly taking advice from people who you would not trade lives with, who you would not actually want to be. And there's nothing wrong with taking advice from loved ones or people who you know who don't actually live the life that you desire. But when you kind of know that it's incorrect or it's not really the path for you or it's not aligning with where you're at and you still do it anyway, that is mismanagement of your time, energy, and your life. You have to be a little bit more trusting with yourself. And I feared that. It was so crazy. I always knew what was best for myself, but I always would externally process and outsource and try to get a million opinions. And then when people would question my thoughts, I would then question them. And I'm like, wait, shit, maybe I don't know. And then what would end up happening was I would take their advice and I would go down the wrong path. I now have learned to trust myself. I no longer am externally processing and outsourcing in a way that completely changes my core values, my morals, and my guidance that I have within. My intuition knows best. And although I do believe that we should educate ourselves and really listen to people who have done certain things before us, that doesn't mean that it's the end all be all for how you should live your life or what you should do. Be a little bit more trusting in yourself and stop trying to find answers within other people. That is your insecurity speaking. That is your lack of self-trust. So this kind of is similar to negative self-talk, but It's a little bit more focused on speaking very small and too humbly. And the 9th toxic habit that I had to get rid of was speaking from a scarcity mindset and playing small. This was stunting my growth significantly in becoming that woman. When you are growing up, a lot of people will try to dim your light. They will try to mess with your aura. They will be threatened by your very existing presence, even before you've even stepped into your power. That being said, you start to feel like you have to shrink yourself, diminish yourself, and then you start to speak from a very scarce perspective. You don't believe that you can get that promotion. You don't believe that you could do that thing or make that amount of money or meet this great guy. And then you actually end up living the scarce life that you put over your life. I no longer speak like that. I speak abundantly. Even if I don't fully believe it in the moment, I still speak it, because this is how I teach myself consciously and subconsciously to start being a little bit more positive and abundant with my life. I don't want minimal. I don't want the things I don't want. Therefore, why am I talking about them? I rather spend my time talking about the things that I do want than the things that I don't want. I think it's normal and important to identify the things you don't want, but you don't need to keep speaking about them. And you don't need to speak from a place of fear or, timidness, because it's never going to get you anywhere. Becoming that woman is about being audacious. It's about having personal resilience and the belief that you're gonna have the life that you set out for. So that is something that I find to be very important, and it has allowed me to open up doors for myself that I never thought I could when I was in a more scarce and insecure version of myself. And the final toxic habit that I had to get rid of to become that woman was less performing and more becoming. I think that the advice of faking it till you make it is a great tactic to becoming someone important and special within your life. What I found to be a little bit toxic about that later was that I still was in a constant place where I was performing and it wasn't authentic. It wasn't truly me. It was who I wanted to be. And although it still was presented in a way that people perceived me that way, I didn't feel it. And what it did was it stunted my relationships with people, it stunted my views and perspective on things, and it didn't allow me to fully step into my purpose because I still felt stifled in my own thoughts about who I was. I rather become the person I want to be and not perform as her. And how you exactly do that is by starting to become more confident, work on the things that are limiting you. So all of your limiting beliefs that you believe about men, women, friends, connections, jobs, money, all of those limiting beliefs, bring them to the front and address all of them and figure out how you can believe a different story. Because at the end of the day, thoughts are not facts. And you can't make your entire mental state a prison to where you're not able to better yourself as a human because you think that what you think is all it will be. I have found that in becoming that woman, I needed to actually 100% believe that I could. And all of the things that were subconscious that were telling me that I couldn't, I had to bring to the front. Whether it was I had a shitty start at life and I didn't learn X, Y, and Z about money, men, and all of this, so now I'm gonna always feel naive and stupid and incapable of finding things that are good for me. And maybe there was another limiting belief that I didn't deserve good things because there was a time in my life where I wasn't good. Well, why do you have that limiting belief if you've worked on yourself, if you care about people now, if you've been showing up, if you've prayed about it, if you've repented? All of these things that I think that we need to address so that we can become the version of ourselves that we want to be without it feeling fake and forced. So I really wanted to spend a lot of my latter 20s in becoming exactly who it is that I say I am. And I can confidently say that I am that. And it's funny, most people that know me would say, oh, you've always been this way and whatever, but truly how I feel on the inside is that I am finally her, and it's a different feeling than when I was really good at faking being her. Those are my 10 toxic habits that I had to get rid of to completely become that woman. I feel so amazing in these realizations. I think that I'm able to lead with a different type of love and light that I didn't have before. I have the knowledge, the power, the resilience, and the grit to go through certain things without letting it shape me into a person that I don't want to be. So I'm hoping that you guys can take something from this and it can help you in your own journey. Let me know down below what toxic habits that you guys had to get rid of and eradicate in order to become the person that you wanted to be. I would love to hear from you. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone. Mwah.